And with that, we'll get started. So today's webinar is on leveraging XR and AI in higher education. We're thrilled that you could join us. I'm joined today with my colleague Paige, as well as Aaron, and they're both experts in all things XR technology.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Good to see you all.
Nice to see you all.
And it'll be helpful just for today's presentation to define a few terms initially. So XR is an umbrella term that's used to include augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence. So with augmented reality, basically the purpose is to layer virtual elements on top of physical elements from the real world. So Gen Z is fluent with this technology. They're using it constantly, whether it's playing Pokemon Go via Instagram filters. So it's something that the universities would be wise to really utilize, especially with their outreach efforts. XR also includes virtual reality. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the term VR. It's typically accessed via a Meta Quest 2 and pretty soon by an Apple Vision Pro. So it's a technology that Apple's investing heavily in. They see the potential of it. And it's something we're really excited about offering universities various services with VR. And then finally, of course, artificial intelligence, AI. Hopefully some of you are currently using that and it's been beneficial for expediting some of your tasks. And really the purpose of AI is the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems. Some of you are using maybe ChatGPT, Bard AI, or Midjourney. So the summary: utilizing XR tools like interactive course catalogs, virtual tours, and branded media can positively impact every step of the student enrollment funnel. We've seen results with a 26% increase in applications and 70% higher freshman deposit rates. And of course, the growing XR trend is fueled by technological advancements such as 5G and LiDAR, which is driving a 94% increase in conversions and effectiveness for marketing across all industries. AI marketing tools such as virtual branded chatbots can increase conversion rates as high as 68%. And say you also get to experience just how engaging and fun these tools can be, as well as informative. And then finally, extended reality consumer revenue is going to surpass 50 billion by 2030, as you can see the chart depicting it below. So it's an incredibly exciting space. We're still in the early days, but it'll be a great opportunity for universities to better engage students throughout the entire life cycle. And with that, I will pass the baton over to my phenomenal colleague, Paige.
Well, thank you, Keating, for that very kind introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Paige. Paige Han. I'm a project manager with CampusXR. So one of the primary tools that we help find is really useful for colleges, and the one we're mainly going to focus on today is augmented reality, right? You guys have we're not really going to touch on virtual reality much today. You've seen it a little bit. Virtual campus tours are a form of virtual reality. You can host virtual meeting spaces, but that's not really at kind of a phase where it's there are use cases, but they're not nearly as many as augmented reality, and so that's what we're going to focus more on today. So I've already heard a little bit about what augmented reality is. It's laying digital content on top of real world surroundings, usually at this point through smartphones, right? So if you've ever used a Snapchat filter, exactly like Keating was saying, that is augmented reality. So augmented reality is actually a technology that's been around for quite a while. The question kind of that's relevant now is, why is now the right time to get into it from a marketing perspective? And there's a couple of different reasons. First and foremost are internet speeds. Currently with the ongoing 5G revolution, quote unquote, right? The internet speeds are getting faster and faster than ever, which means that these larger files that are needed for augmented reality can actually be streamed. So rather than you having to download an app like Pokemon Go or Snapchat, it can actually be streamed from a website. This is much better from a marketing perspective, right? Because you're not going to have a student download an app for just one experience for your college. But if they don't need to do that, if it's just all web-based and QR code-based, there's no barrier for entry there. So that's kind of one of the biggest factors. Second is hardware, right? Because Previously, augmented reality was largely accessible through things like smart glasses, like the Google Glass and things like that. Now, because it's moving so strongly towards smartphones, not only is that significantly less expensive, but also it means that devices are already in hand. So students already have, most likely already in their hand right now, what they need to access the content that you want to share with them. And that's a huge barrier for entry removed, right? Second is multi-platform, right? So because all of this is now web-based rather than app-based, you no longer need to download anything, and it also means that any phone can access it. So rather than you having to create different applications specifically for Apple or Apple access, iOS, or Android access, it's all web. You just need to build it out once, which is a much easier process. So those are kind of some of the main reasons that now is a particularly good time and why augmented reality is so much more affordable now for marketing than it has been in the past. All right, so some of the benefits of XR, right? Why, yes, it's more accessible, but not everything that's accessible needs to be done, right? So why should you be interested in XR as a tool? First and foremost is sustainability, right? So rather than you having to print very large, very expensive brochures full of content that are glossy paper usually, so they're entirely non-recyclable, all of that same content can be accessed instead through a single QR code or a single augmented reality brochure. So a single QR code can access or activate that single augmented reality brochure that can hold all of the same content, but instead of you having to print big, very expensive magazines, you're printing a single business card or a postcard, and all of that content is contained there. So hugely important for sustainability. You're printing much less, you're shipping much less, traveling with much less. And on top of that, because all of the content is digital, not if, say, you get a couple of months into handing out this brochure and a department decides to remove a certain program, or to get a new donor and the name of a department changes or something like that, rather than you having to throw away everything and reprint it all, you can update it all digitally. So the content that is all digital can be fully updated in as little as 2 business days. And then not only is everything you've already got printed still good to keep passing out, no need to reprint anything or print anything new, but everything you've already passed out is also updated with that new content and information. So you're not reprinting anything potentially ever. So huge for sustainability and huge for budgets, right? Because so much gets spent in printing. Second thing is analytics. So when you're passing out those big glossy paper brochures, you don't really get to see what students are interested in or engaging with from those brochures. You never really hear from that again unless someone specifically tells you about it. With analytics, you can actually use UTM codes attached to the links on an augmented reality experience to track the analytic information on what students are and are not engaging with. And then again, because it's digital, you can adjust. So if you see, these 3 links students are really engaging with, but this 4th one they're not engaging with at all, you can swap out that 4th one for something that you think may gain more interest. And so you're not wasting any content or any links that way. And then you get all of those analytics for yourself. So you have that information. It also leaves a significantly deeper impression. Interacting with AR tends to leave a 94% higher conversion rate. It has 70% higher memory encoding in the brain than standard 2-dimensional marketing. It is significantly more impactful, and it has much more sticking power. Students are going to remember this far, far more than a standard 2-dimensional brochure. And if you give it to them on something that they can take away with them, like a sticker or a postcard or your business cards, they're going to come back to it. They keep coming back to this content rather than you seeing all of your very expensive glossy brochures thrown away in a garbage can at the end of the college fair, right? And then big thing is centralized content. So again, it's all together. All of your content is right there in one place, and it's compact. It's easier to pass out, to travel with, to give to students, and it's all right there. So anything that a student needs is right at their fingertips. All of the links and buttons can be directly clickable. So anything you want them engaging with, you can lead them directly to those links you want them engaging with. Great, so here are some examples of what AR can do. These are actually both business cards. The one on the left, you can see Bishop's is actually their entire brochure. So they've replaced all of their brochures with just this business card. They have 3D models attached to it to gain much more dynamic and engaging interactions with, much more impactful there with that three-dimensional content. You can see brand recognition is all over it, right? It is fully branded. So it's that lasting impression is for your brand exactly. There's nothing messy. It is all specifically that brand recognition. University assets in these 3D models of buildings, mascots, and things like that. And also, right, it's an interactive experience. Students can click on it and interact with it and see more information. The one on the right is another example. This is actually a green screen, right? So this is Fairfield. This is a new grad department they are launching, and rather than passing out brochures, they decided to film on a green screen the new assistant dean of that new department, where she talks about and explains the new department and then directs you to those links right below. So different ways to use the technology right there. Another example here, this is one that we've found really impactful, case study for Millersville University. This is actually Scully, their pirate parrot mascot of Millersville, and this is a sticker they give out. So they gave this away at college fairs. I believe they also included it in new admitted students packets. And because it's a sticker, it's something that students are going to stick on their laptops or water bottles and then keep coming back to and showing off this cool experience for you. There are buttons on there so you can take a selfie with him, which means that students can post about it. It can become a social media campaign for you. Say you send it to new admitted students, you can prompt them to take a selfie with it and post about hashtag class of 2028, I believe we're at now. And right there, again, are all of the links that they need to learn more about your university. Anna Bradford from Millersville has they found very successful results and found really useful that ROI tracking. Another example here, this is Billy Blue College of Design. They actually included, it's a street sign, and each one leads to its own department. So you can kind of see here on the right, it's going to open to the graphics and communications department, and each one is its own unique AR experience that is fully interactive and playable. They're almost like a game that students can interact with right there on their phones. So highly boosting engagement time. This experience saw more than 1,000 out-of-home scans, users returning up to as many as 15 times, so a lot of repeat users, a lot of students coming back and playing with it again, experiencing it again, activating it again. The TikTok campaign linked with it received more than 13 million views, and the campaign attributed 20% enrollment growth, which exceeded their target by 109%, so more than doubled their target. So really, really impactful experience. Yeah, so this is another example you can see on the left. It's a 3D model of an apartment actually, but great for also visualizing dorm spaces, lab spaces, great for capital campaigns as well. If you're trying to fundraise to build out new buildings or spaces, this is really a great example for that. And on the right, you'll see some of our existing clients kind of talking about how beneficial this technology has been for them. Great. So the same kind of three-dimensional content that we take and use for those AR experiences can also be turned into actual holograms. So kind of wild, I know, but you'll see, yeah. So you can see some different ways that the technology is used here. You can have mascots and characters. You can actually have as Erin will talk about in a little bit, you can have them linked to an AI experience. So you can actually have a hologram that can answer student questions live and in person and in real time. And verbal questions, not just typed, it can answer verbally asked questions in person and in real time. So characters, mascots, really great for showing off that. You can also, again, use the same kind of 3D content for showing off buildings and lab spaces and dorm spaces and things like that. Again, really great for kind of fundraising for those campaigns. And then also logos, dynamic 3D models, kind of wherever your imagination goes, it can actually be built out in 3D and attached to a hologram. These are really, really great at grabbing student attention and sharing that three-dimensional content to multiple people simultaneously. So really, really useful at college fairs and recruitment. There are 2 actual versions that are fully travelable. They're very easy to travel with. And really, really great at attracting attention and drawing students into your booth. And then again, you can send them away with a sticker with that same 3-dimensional experience on it that has all of that content that you want them engaging with. Really great also for, as I said, showing off 3-dimensional content to multiple people at once. So if you want to, if you're having, say, a session where you're showing off the new renderings of the new space you're trying to fundraise for to a lot of donors all at once in the same space, you can use a holographic fan to show it to them all at once. So it's really great for that. And there are actually versions that you can manipulate, so with remotes and things like that. So you can kind of be Tony Stark a little bit, right? And move around holograms and show them in really engaging 3-dimensional space that way. So these are kind of what those fans look like. You'll see the 2 on the left are the 2 travel sizes, fit in actually a checked bag and a carry-on respectively. Very easy and very light to travel with. Perfect for those recruiting events. And when you're talking about something larger, say a standing installation, so you want to change out your donor wall to an entire holographic wall, you can actually do a grid. So it's multiple fans set up in a grid, and they all work together to create one massive image. So you can have an entire wall that is now holographic content. So it's really, really valuable, really impactful content there. Great, and now turning over to Aaron, who's going to talk a little bit about AI.
Hi, thanks, Paige. I'm Aaron, and I'm the communications associate with CampusXR. And yeah, I'm really excited today to talk more about something that's kind of been on our radars a lot recently, which is artificial intelligence. And the way that I like to just sort of break it down is to sort of reference AI as a whole as like the Google Translate that bridges the gap between humans and computers. So up until very recently, until like we started using ChatGPT or, these types of generative AI systems, we had to learn how to code. We had to learn how to communicate with computers for tests to get done. But nowadays we can interact with computers in a way that is optimal for human beings, because generative AI and artificial intelligence is developed to process, queries, to process information in a way that is feasible for human beings. So yeah, we'll dig in a little bit more into that. And I really like this sort of time graph about generative AI, because a lot of the times, we use ChatGPT and we go, oh, well, it doesn't quite, answer questions as good as I would answer questions. There are some things that don't work super well. But if you take a look at this timeline here, which was developed by Sequoia Capital this year, it sort of looked at AI trends from, pre-2020 all the way up until 2030. We can see that things are pretty much on schedule. So in 2023, which is where we are currently, the text development is pretty good. So like, for example, if you were going to ChatGPT and you were to say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a scientific paper, it could probably do a fairly decent job. It could certainly write it for you. That being said, like things like images, things like video design, it's still got a ways to go, all the way up until 2030, when we expect these processes to be just as good as the way that humans can develop this technology. And on the right here, you'll see this benchmark. And what I like about this benchmark is it also conceptualizes the way that different models have been adapting to, human recognition. So you can see here right below the benchmarks, these are all the different models that focus on, different processes. So MNIST is on handwriting recognition, and you can see like pre-2000, it was already in the works, and it's taken up until like the mid 2010s, the early 2010s to outperform human performance. So a lot of these things are exponential too. So you can see with a lot of the things on this graph, things like image recognition, things like language understanding, which, really didn't hit the mark until recently, which is why we have ChatGPT. So, a lot of the technology on the consumer level, is relatively new to us, but this has been in the works since, the 1960s. So we've had this technology for a really long time, but it's just starting to get ready for the consumer level. But what's really interesting about that is just because now it's ready for the consumer level, it's going to grow exponentially better. So in a few years from now, it's going to be delivering final drafts better than the average human. By 2030, final drafts better than professional writers. So, we can see just like this fantastic development of this technology that's going faster than we could ever recognize. So yeah, that's a little bit of a background about AI. So I also like to brief it by the numbers. Are people investing in this technology? How are people investing in this technology? And how can we utilize it ourselves? So I like this graph as well. It's from Forrester. And what it is essentially is they just sampled 200 firms, 200 B2B firms in 2018. So a while ago on, hey, we're hearing much more about AI in, tech spheres, and a lot of companies are starting to talk about it. What's the buzz? What are you guys doing up until 2025? Are you guys investing in AI? And back in 2018, just a sample size of 200 companies, we're investing through 2025 upwards of $36 billion in the technology. And this was predating in 2018. So, if you were, investing billions of dollars in 2018, if that same graph were to be, if that same sample size were to be taken now, it would be exceptionally more money. So, I think that this is just an interesting graphic to show that people are interested in the technology, and people were interested long before the realm of OpenAI and ChatGPT. And when we dig a little bit deeper into conversion rates and implementing AI into our system. So let's say, we have like an AI powered chatbot that we have on our website. People have found that those sort of on-site search can result in a marked increase in conversion rates of up to 68%. So by just having this AI that's trained on the information on your website that can process queries from users in a way that's receptive to users, it can increase conversion rates of up to 68%, because instead of having to navigate to an FAQ page where may or may not have the answer they're looking for, it's a real-time representative that can respond immediately. And 98% of respondents who responded to this same outreach by Forrester said that 98% of our AI integration investments saw an increased revenue. So pretty immediate results. Once it trains on the information, it has it for good. And yeah, it's really powerful technology that we should all start to look into utilizing. So yeah, and I like also this specific case study because I think it's maybe a little bit more applicable to us. We can sort of get lost in the realm of AI. It's like, okay, I know what it is, but how do I use it beyond ChatGPT, beyond helping me write outreach emails? What can I actually do to implement it into my current infrastructure? So this is a case study by HelloFresh. It's the company that, we probably all saw YouTube ads for it. They deliver food to people in packages so you can cook at home. Instead of going to the grocery store. So this was a campaign that they did leading up to Thanksgiving weekend. They anticipated, everyone's going to be ordering our Thanksgiving package. So they went with a promotion. But they saw, it's Thanksgiving weekend. We're going to get a lot of queries. We want to handle the input in a way that is conducive towards maximizing conversion. So they said, well, we could either just stack the people. So we just have tons of people on deck. But then they thought, okay, hold on, what if we could have a system that can have hundreds of conversations at once? So they implemented an AI bot that could just sit on the bottom of their webpage that you could chat, that users could chat with, and you can see it has some personality, and you can characterize these things to have a personality. I'm trying to get in the holiday spirit. I'm the most spirited robot in town. You can characterize these things. It's not just regular FAQ chatbot. Like these things are actually modeled to replicate a human experience. And upon, releasing the AI for that weekend alone, it led to a 68% conversion rate increase, just because it was able to maximize the amount of, at any time anyone needed anything, it was able to respond. And you can see here that AI powered solutions can address up to 80% of customer inquiries, optimizing time and resources. So 80% of people who use some sort of AI powered solution, it covers, it satisfies their queries. So a lot of people have concerns over, it doesn't quite answer questions as well as I answer questions. It might not be as accurate as I'd like it to be, but sort of the beauty of the technology, and the technology has even gotten better in the last few months. I mean, you look at ChatGPT now versus where it was like 6 months ago when it was first getting all the buzz, it's gotten significantly better. So, there's a lot of different ways to harness the power of AI. And one of the ways is you can actually like set parameters when you're developing, for example, HelloFresh, when they developed this AI system, they probably uploaded like their top 30 questions that get frequently asked. And they really honed in on those questions so that they were accurate and correct every time, as opposed to so that the higher level questions could be reserved for people who have the knowledge and, sales ability to give more refined and nuanced responses. And just the overall system over the course of a year with HelloFresh, they saw it reduced overall response times by 76%. 76%, just like, okay, didn't even need to talk to a person. Those people could just focus on higher level tasks. And that 76% reduced response time was met with a 47% increase in incoming messages. So reduced response time, yet increased input. So it's just like really powerful technology here. And you're probably thinking, okay, that worked for HelloFresh, but how can we use this technology? And well, there are actually a lot of ways. So, something that we develop at CampusXR are personalized, as you saw with HelloFresh, AI beings that you can employ onto your website or into a variety of different, different marketing assets. So this is just an example of conversing with an AI that we had demoed for Millersville University, in which we took their mascot, who is, as Paige mentioned before, a pirate. And we made it like a pirate parrot. We gave it the characterization, and it says ahoy matey, and it sort of talks in the lingo of a pirate, but it also gives the added benefit of providing information about the school. So, it takes their FAQ page and it creates like a highly personalized way that users can interact with Millersville. So, it's another way of creating just like a really engaging experience for users, which is what users are always looking for. But it also, it answers their questions so that you can, focus that time on higher level tasks, because how much time we spend like dealing with emails that could literally be looked at on our FAQ pages. Now this sort of wipes out that basic level of inquiry and gives you more time on creative, more important tasks and higher level problems. And there's a whole bunch of different ways to customize AI experiences into your current system. So this is an AI embedded just into your website, into the corner. And this is just a mock-up demo, but essentially we took NJIT and we crawled their website and we just uploaded the information. And we said, okay, we just want you to act as an enrollment guide, and we want you to give all prospective information to students who will be asking you questions about different programs. So, now a user is navigating a website and they might have a question, because I remember the college application process, looking through websites, procrastinating on deadlines the night before my application was due, looking through a website frantically, trying to find out if this program would be good for me, not having the information I was looking for, and then not applying to the school. So this sort of wipes that away, because now I sort of have a live enrollment person in the corner of my screen that I can have a highly personalized conversation with. And the beauty of AI is it can actually be characterized to ask follow-up questions. So, for example, if I'm saying, what 4-year degrees do you offer? It it provides me with a list of different questions. We start to have a conversation, and then it'll begin to ask me questions about, hey, well, what are you interested in? What are you looking for in a university? And then it can address how NGIT might be a good fit for you. So yeah, it's just a really great way to have highly personalized conversations on a really large scale. And that same principle can be applied to AI embedded virtual tours. So let's say you're having a virtual tour on campus, as a lot of kids do. I was from Hawaii and I was unable to tour. I grew up in Hawaii and I was unable to tour campuses in person. So I actually, utilized VR tours a lot. It was the only thing I had to get a sense of the school. But I didn't really have anyone to walk me through it. And I think I really could have utilized someone who could have just answered questions about different building information. And you're able to do that now. With AI, you're able to embed a AI enrollment person or a tour guide who's trained on your story content, who can then answer questions about different buildings that you might have, or whatever wow factor you're looking to sell in your university. And again, this is more of Millersville. But this is that same principle being applied to a swag item you might have. So Paige mentioned the 3D sticker. You could have that 3D sticker, and then you could scan it, and then a whole AI experience would unlock as well, along with the 3D holographic experience, where students could then talk to their phone and have a conversation with Scully. So it's like a speech to text, and then the output is a voice that we'd design for you as well. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways that universities can look to implement different AI systems into their workflow, and not just their workflow, but into their current web-based applications or swag items, or really anything you can imagine. The applications are growing every single day. So yeah, that kind of sums up a lot of the content that we had for you today. And if you sort of enjoyed this webinar, a lot of the content came from this recent white paper that we've officially wrote. And all of you here today will be getting a complimentary copy of our white paper on leveraging XR and AI in university marketing. So, it has a bunch of different industry insights onto the XR market and AI market, and how universities can employ XR and AI right now. So, here are some of our key findings. Like, as we've mentioned before, tools, interactive course catalogs, virtual tours can result in 26% increase in applications, 70% higher freshman deposit rates. The XR trend fueled by technological advancements, as Paige mentioned before, like LiDAR, like different web performances, speeds, and XR is responsible for a 94% increase in conversions. And as I mentioned, AI marketing tools, the applications are endless, and they increase conversion rates and they lower response times. And yeah, so that's our white paper. And, we have a scannable QR code here that you're welcome to scan, but we'll also be following up with a copy after this call. So yeah, I'll pass this back on to Keating. And if there are any questions from those watching, we'd be happy to answer.
Thanks, Aaron and Paige, for those overviews. And I see we have some great questions that have already come in. So I'll just rattle them off to both of you. First question is, what is the benefit of a personalized AI character personality?
Great. Yeah, I can take that one. So, right, the benefits of a personalized AI personality versus conventional chatbot experiences, it's the part that often gives people pause when they see these chatbots are the way that they're designed. The way that conventional chatbots are designed is, okay, we'll have a list of 20 questions on our FAQ, and then we'll have just corresponding answers, and it'll just find that question in the user query, and then it'll give a plugged response. The beauty of generative conversation is it's literally mimicked to perceive and process human interaction in a way that we understand. So it's not just a pull and plug. It's a real life conversation, and the ability to characterize, any sort of AI character or an AI chatbot is it gives the personalization of a human being, which people are much more responsive if they feel like they're actually interacting with the person.
Great. And is the AI chatbot purely text-based?
Yeah, so I mean, we have text-based options, but we also have options for speech to text. We can create, 3D holographic assets, as Paige mentioned. They could be, we're working on developing a project where we have a 3D hologram of a person who can speak to you and you can speak to it, and it's based off of a company's information. So there are 3D assets, there are video assets, like it's incredibly customizable, and the applications are always growing.
Thank you, Aaron. Paige, just questions for you. For AR, how does it work internationally?
Sure. So again, all of our AR is web-based, right? So it can be accessed through the internet everywhere. That becomes a little tricky in certain areas, right? Particularly in China, where you've got kind of a different internet system set up. But we do very intentionally set up access so that it is fully accessible in China as well. In terms of reception internationally, it's very, very powerful. Again, especially in China and other countries in Asia, especially like some things like 3D mascots and that 3D modeling. It's QR codes have been kind of part of the system there for a lot longer. We're kind of adopting them now a little bit more, particularly through the course of the pandemic. They were much more commonly utilized for years and years and years in a lot of Asian countries. And so they're much more familiar with this technology, and they're much more experienced with this technology. And so especially when they see these 3D mascots popping up or these holographic mascots, they're really powerful and impactful internationally as well.
Yes. And how can AR be leveraged for graduate programs?
Sure. So very different technologies, or not different technologies, but just different uses of the same technology. So where for undergrads, we might do a lot of those kind of mascot style, or for athletics, we might do a lot of mascots or athletic players or things like that. It's just a different use of the same technology, right? So where you saw, for example, that Bishops versus Fairfield side-by-side comparison, that was an undergrad program versus a grad program. So just more often we see uses of real people, videos of real people rather than mascots. And leveraging different links and different uses of the technology. So more real people, more student testimonials, as opposed to kind of that more fun and exciting mascot demo kind of thing.
Great. Another question is, things are constantly changing at our university. How quickly can AI update so that we're providing accurate information to our prospective students?
Yeah, the answer is instantly. I mean, we can always go in and make updates and change relevant information. We know that, course catalogs change, programs change, and we can implement those changes as often as there are updates.
We do. There are uses of technology and of AI in which it is open to the web. We very intentionally don't do that. The reason being that sometimes, if you want to go into the reasoning, Aaron, but
no.
More, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. The reasoning being that sometimes it'll pull content from other websites that you don't necessarily want it engaging with, or old web pages that haven't necessarily been updated. So in general, until that kind of technological gap is filled, again, as Aaron showed, like this is a development. It's a process. It is currently ongoing and very quickly ongoing, but it is still developing. And so we don't open it to the webs to kind of keep that level and layer of protection, but we can, as Aaron was saying, update it however often is necessary.
Yeah. And that's why we like to often say, give us your custom information, the questions that you want answered every single time really well. And then we can hone in on very specific responses, and things that aren't responding well, we can take a look at and try to, amend those, any sort of issues there. So.
Great. Well, thanks again, everyone, for attending today. We hope you found the webinar to be beneficial. And of course, if you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot us an email. We're always happy to respond via email or to hop on a Zoom with you and kind of go into the weeds further. But again, we appreciate each of you and hope you enjoy the rest of your day and look forward to staying in touch.